Hi, my name is Rose Parker. Welcome to the channel. If you know who I am, if you're familiar with my Instagram or podcast, that's great. If you're not, welcome. I'm a psychosis advocate. I work with the NGO Students with Psychosis, and this is my YouTube channel. Today, I'd like to talk about communication between neurotypes, specifically communication between people with schizophrenia and psychosis and their loved ones. Now, what I want to talk about is ways people who do not have schizophrenia or psychosis can encourage and show support to their psychotic loved ones. Being a lifetime schizophrenic and having family that does not have psychosis, I know firsthand that it can be very hard for my family and my friends to show support to me. It can be very hard for them to communicate in a way that I understand and for me to communicate in a way they understand. Often when they have tried to communicate with me, it gets interpreted wrong, or it doesn't get communicated correctly, or they don't know what I need to hear. Schizophrenia and psychosis is a very isolating existence. You don't experience the world the way other people do, and people don't realize just what we go through, what sort of things we need to hear, or what would reassure us. So I'm going to share 5 things I think that if you don't have schizophrenia or psychosis, it could be really beneficial to incorporate into your conversations with your loved ones. And I'm going to explain why as well. By the way, if you hear any odd sounds in the background, I have 2 parrots. So, first things first, I don't think you're a bad person, would be number 1. People with psychosis carry around a lot of guilt because of media stereotypes and the way that psychosis is sensationalized in the popular culture. We often have a very negative self-image, and it's easy to view yourself as defective or broken or even evil, like your psychosis makes you inherently a bad person. And while you might think, well, why don't I say you're a good person, you need to refute the negative. Because of the way delusional thinking works, it's better to refute the negative. Being told you're not a bad person is much more reassuring to me than being told you're a good person. Being told something won't happen is much more reassuring than being told something will probably work out the other way. So, yeah, it's just, even if it seems odd, it can mean a lot to your psychotic loved one. I believe your symptoms are real, number 2. Psychotic people often take a long time to get diagnosed. While there might be an initial diagnosis after an acute psychotic episode at a hospital, it can take a long time to work out a full diagnosis of comorbidities and everything else. Personally, I was misdiagnosed several times, and that's not unusual. For many of us, there can be multiple misdiagnoses, and there are sometimes clinicians who don't take psychotic symptoms seriously. While you would think that psychosis, being as severe a condition as it is, would be taken seriously, often clinicians are not properly trained to treat psychosis, so they will ignore it in favor of like mood and anxiety symptoms when the psychosis is causing the most severe disability. So reassuring your loved one that you believe in their symptoms and you believe in their suffering can be very helpful because of the medical gaslighting that psychotic people often experience. I respect your need for space quiet, number 3. Respecting the boundaries of your psychotic loved one is really important because oftentimes our boundaries aren't respected, especially in medical spaces. If your psychotic loved one has been hospitalized, their boundaries were probably not respected there. Many psychotic and schizophrenic people have experienced forced medication. They've experienced being in restraints. Personally, I don't have a ton of firsthand experience with that level of psychiatric abuse. I have been forcibly medicated once, but it was orally given to me. It wasn't an injection. But the violation of consent in mental hospitals is a real problem. Personally, I've experienced things like being pressured into medical care that was unnecessary, being yelled at by nurses, being on one-to-one where medical staff watches you 24/7, including going to the bathroom and showering. So we can become very picky about consent when it's so often violated. Even an outpatient, oftentimes doctors and other clinicians will treat you as though what you have to say about your treatment doesn't really matter. And this can make people very jumpy. So treating your loved one's boundaries with a healthy respect can go a long way in maintaining the relationship. And also, many psychotic and schizophrenic people have sensory processing issues, so giving them space when they need quiet is just good manners. So, number 4, it's okay to tell me about your psychotic experiences, but you don't have to share the details if it makes you uncomfortable. This can be phrased a variety of ways, but making sure your loved one knows that they can share their experiences with you and you won't judge, but not pressuring them to share. Because it's helpful to know people are open to hearing about what we experience, but a lot of times we don't want to share it because, we talk about this in therapy, we talk about it in our psychiatry appointments, and if we have a peer support network or a peer support program we go to, then we talk about our symptoms there. So oftentimes when we're with our non-psychotic loved ones, we'll want to talk about other things, but it's nice to know you are open to talking about these sort of things, our symptoms, and you won't freak out. Because I know with some non-psychotic people in my life, I have to be very measured about what psychotic symptoms I talk about, or else they'll act badly. And it's very difficult not being able to trust them. So being open and non-judgmental and making that clear is a huge help in the relationship. Number 5, I love you. Make sure you tell your psychotic or schizophrenic loved one you love them. Even if it's not something you say very often, make it clear somehow, make it explicit. Because it's very easy when you have psychosis and schizophrenia to fall into low self-esteem. There's something called the social defeat hypothesis of schizophrenia. I'll link sources in the description below, where basically the more rejection and ostracism you face, the worse your symptoms get. The worse your symptoms get, the more ostracism you face. It's part of what it's thought it might have to do with why immigrants and minorities get schizophrenia more often, but it's not the entire reason. That's a big subject in and of itself, issues of racism and discrimination and other factors. But it's also part of the reason of the downward drift of schizophrenia. People with schizophrenia tend to move downward on the socioeconomic ladder. And social defeat makes schizophrenic symptoms worse. In family therapy for schizophrenia, the family therapy focuses on educating the family about the schizophrenic symptoms and getting the family to accept the schizophrenic person. Because having a supportive social network and knowing people care about you really helps the symptoms. Expressed emotion is what it's termed when the family and friends around the schizophrenic or psychotic person are unaccepting and express hostility towards their disorder. And it makes people worse. It makes them more likely to relapse. And so really showing that you love your family member, that you care about them, that you haven't rejected them for their disorder is key. And you need to show it continuously. Don't assume they know. Just make sure it's a steady reminder. Living with schizophrenia and psychosis is difficult, but it's also difficult being the friend or family member of someone with schizophrenia and psychosis. I used to personally hold a lot of bitterness when family and friends express difficulties dealing with their loved ones because my own mother has been very abusive towards me because of my disorder. But as I've worked in this advocacy and grown over time, I've learned to see the difficulties loved ones face, and I've met very many caring, dedicated loved ones who want to help their schizophrenic and psychotic people who just don't know what to do and need help. And that's one reason I've become so passionate about education, because I really think it does help. So I hope this was helpful. Please feel free to DM me on Instagram if you have any questions. My Instagram's in my YouTube description, but I'll link it in the description box below. And have a nice day. Bye.